Welcome to this overview of the book Becoming You by Suzy Welch, subtitled The Proven Method for Crafting Your Authentic Life and Career. This book was written to help you answer the question, what should I do with my life? Or in the lexicon of Becoming You, finding your area of transcendence, the intersection of your deepest, most authentic values, your strongest aptitudes, and your most economically viable interests. Or more succinctly, the one thing you want to do every day. To start this process, Suzy begins by clarifying values are the desires, motivations, and beliefs that animate our actions and decisions, which means a value is a yearning, an intention, a creed that is strong enough to influence which job you pursue, whom you decide to spend your life with, and where you choose to live, etc. However, there are four pervasive cultural and psychological dynamics that often stand in the way of living our authentic values. Economic security, when we treat money as a priority. Expedience, when we let comfort, convenience, or the past of least resistance to take precedent. Expectations, when we surrender to the anticipation of criticism or judgment. And events, the things that happen in our lives. Based on Suzy's 15 years of developing, researching, testing, and teaching the methodology covered, she has identified 15 core human values, with each one existing along a continuum. And it is that differentiation on each value that causes us to make trade-offs based on what is important to us. Therefore, by itself, no value is more important than any other value. The value radius is a measure of systemic impact as a life organizing principle, or in other words, how much having an impact on the world drives, directs, or otherwise spurs your decisions and actions. This isn't fame. George Harrison had no desire to leave a legacy impact on the world, even though he was a member of one of the world's most influential music groups. Conversely, the founder of the Good Food Institute wants to eliminate animals from the human food chain. The value scope is a measure of stimulation as a life-organizing principle. How much you like a big life constantly filled with lots of new experiences, through to a preference to be in control, even to the extent of knowing exactly what you will be doing this time next year. The value family centrism is a measure of family as a life-organizing principle. This is how much you desire your family to drive, design, and impel your actions and decisions. The value non sibi, the Latin term for not for self, reflects helping others as a life-organizing principle. How much helping others defines your every word and deed? How much is hands-on versus from a distance, such as donations only? The value luminance is a measure of public recognition as a life-organizing principle. This is about fame, the desire to be a household name, the desire for the world to know you exist and what you are doing. The value agency is a measure of self-determination. It is living the life you want to be living versus living by others' rules and opinions. The value achievement is the measure of seen success as a life-organizing principle. Achievement can go with luminance, which is about fame, but achievement is about receiving respect and validation from your community for being the best at what you do. The value work-centrism is the measure of work as a life-organizing principle. How much the desire to work drives every decision and action. Work or family time, work or exercise time, work or hobby time, etc. How often or not you say yes to work. The value affluence is a measure of wealth as a life-organizing principle. How much wealth really matters to you. Eudaimonia is the measure of the pursuit of joy, fun, and or well-being, happiness and good spirits as a life-organizing principle. This is a state of pleasure we get when taking care of ourselves, doing what makes us feel good, or living in the way we choose. The specifics aren't important. It is only important what holds intrinsic pleasure for you. The value beholderism is the measure of appearance as a life-organizing principle, both how things appear to you and how you appear to others. The value voice is the measure of creative self-expression as a life-organizing principle. This is taking what you are thinking and feeling on the inside and putting it on the outside for others to consume. The value belonging is the measure of connectivity as a life-organizing principle. This value reflects how much of a joiner and a stayer you tend to be, how much being part of a group calls you and fulfills you. The value place is a measure of location as a life-organizing principle. It is having to live in one place for some reason, whether it is a Pacific city or an area such as in the mountains or by the sea. The last but not least value is cosmos. This is one's faith tradition as a life-organizing principle. Knowing your values is a starting point. The issue then becomes building the bridge you need to be living the future you want. The next part of identifying your area of transcendence is aptitudes. Those things inside you, a gift, a propensity, a talent that comes as naturally to you as writing with your dominant hand, because that is how you are wired. These are not skills we acquire by training and practice or areas of expertise, although our aptitudes make us better at them. Aptitudes are the raw materials waiting to help you build the life and career that's meant for you. There are 8 archetypal cognitive aptitudes, each again on a continuum. Although by way of disclosure, Suzy shares there are more that you can be tested for, but these tend to be specific. The 8 archetypal cognitive aptitudes are time frame orientation, work approach, visual comparison speed, inductive reasoning, sequential reasoning, spatial visualization, idea generation, and numerical reasoning. Time frame orientation is the aptitude that reflects the most common breadth of focus at which our brains tend to look at events. At one end are the future focusers, who are wired to watch not just the far horizon, but also all around, up and down. At the other end are the present focusers, those making sure what needs to be done today gets done. And in the center is the balanced focused, the person who can move with ease between long-term envisioning and ASP executing. Work approach is the depth of our focus. The ends of the spectrum are generalist, no real depth on anything, and specialist. So a generalist would be comfortable in a situation where they are just getting broad stroke information, as they are naturally wired this way. However, a specialist is unlikely to feel comfortable in the situation, as they will want to understand the details. Visual comparison speed is the aptitude that reflects how you process detailed information when checking it for accuracy. This is about speed and accuracy. The visual scanner can look at something and find any mistake or typo in a nanosecond. The other end of the spectrum is the double checker, the check, check, and check again checker. Inductive reasoning is the aptitude that relates to our ability to see relationships in seemingly unrelated pieces of information and rapidly draw conclusions. At one end of the spectrum is the diagnostic problem solver. At the other end is the fact checker, who is wired to find a solution that can reasonably and logically be explained to all. Sequential reasoning is the aptitude that describes how our brain is wired to manage, organize, and sort information. This aptitude can track alongside inductive reasoning, but not always. Sequential thinkers are those who do not need to write things down to figure them out, no matter how detailed the information they are considering. They also detest "this is how it has always been done" thinking. At the other end of the spectrum are process supporters, who are happiest when guided by procedures, rules, and regulations. Spatial visualization describes the aptitude that allows the mental translating of two-dimensional images into 3 dimensions. For example, being able to see blueprints as finished houses. The other end of the spectrum is the abstract thinker. Idea generation is the aptitude that reflects our natural ability to conjure up ideas in a limited period of time. The brainstormer can come up with lots of ideas without ego attachment. The other end of the spectrum is the concentrated focuser. This group doesn't spout ideas, but can get excited about others' ideas and in some cases about implementing them. Numerical reasoning is the ability to understand and make inferences from numerical information. At one end of the spectrum is the numerical detective, those who can both make inferences and see stories in the information. At the other end of the spectrum is the numerical checker, those who have little interest in the theory or process behind the formulas they use. But beyond these aptitudes is personality. There are many personality assessments, and some of these Suzy recommends, as a lot can be gained from understanding how we show up in the world. However, for the purposes of this book, Suzy covers the Career Traits Compass. The compass focuses on 4 personality clusters: nerve, soundness, elasticity, and wonderment. Again, one is not better than another, but they allow us to understand our best alignment. The northern coordinator of the compass is nerve. It contains the traits of stamina, candor, and decisiveness, which add up to showing up in the world with confidence in your actions and decisions. It is having the guts to go for it, even if that means you face the prospect of failure more often than you would like. At its best, soundness is a great mix of positive energy, self-awareness, integrity, and resilience. Unfortunately, how they are assessed depends on who is doing the assessing. The good news, though, is that this book helps with the self-awareness aspect. The east coordinate of the Career Traits Compass is elasticity, the propensity to eagerly and willingly continually expand your collection of skills and your collection of friends. The 4th compass coordinate is wonderment. This is a combination of curiosity, asking questions, and currency, being up to date with what is going on in your industry. The next step towards finding your area of transcendence is identifying your economically viable interests, those things that show you the best alignment for your career and life. And to assist with this, Suzy shares some overviews so you can get an idea of how to identify your destination, the what you will do with your one wild and precious life. This is an easy-to-read book sprinkled with humour. It is divided into 3 parts: excavation of your values, identification of your aptitudes, and your economically viable interests, with the background and concepts explained via stories, including Suzy's own, as well as well-explained exercises to enable you to customize your becoming you, because everyone is different and discovering your purpose is a journey. Yes, a hard, messy, joyful, exhausting, exhilarating, bumpy, scary, and life-giving journey that Suzy is honest won't make your life perfect, but one that has the potential to deliver your authentic life and career. Thank you for viewing this video. Please like and subscribe and click on the notification bell to be advised when further book overviews are uploaded. And to help me grow this channel's reach, please share the link with others.